Not the people who ignored their health who break my heart the most. It's the ones who chased it. Picture this. You are 71 years old. You feel good. You're sleeping decently. Making your own meals. Energy in the mornings. Your doctor said your numbers looked pretty reasonable at your last checkup. And you walked out feeling like you were doing something right. And every single morning, you do the one thing that makes you feel like you're truly taking care of yourself. You pull out the blender. 2 large handfuls of raw spinach, organic, of course. Almond milk is the base. A spoonful of almond butter for protein. Half a beet for circulation. Dark chocolate blended in for the antioxidants. Every ingredient chosen deliberately. Every ingredient researched. Every ingredient carrying a label that says something like natural or superfood or heart healthy or clean. You feel good about it. Proud of it. You've been making that smoothie for 3 years. Maybe longer. Here is what I need to tell you. That smoothie, that specific combination of ingredients you chose so carefully, may be quietly doing something to your kidneys that won't show up as a symptom for years. And by the time it does, the damage won't be new. It will have been accumulating, silently, one morning at a time, for as long as you've been drinking it. I know your first instinct is to push back. Those are superfoods. Spinach is one of the most nutritious foods on the planet. Beets are celebrated in every cardiology publication I have ever read. Dark chocolate has more antioxidants per gram than blueberries. You're not wrong about any of that. And that is precisely what makes this so dangerous. The threat I'm talking about today is not hiding in the fast food, or the processed snacks or the sugar-laden cereals. Those are already under suspicion. People are already watching them. This threat is hiding behind one of the most powerful health halos in modern nutrition. It's tasteless, odorless, no warning label. It shows up in foods the wellness industry describes as clean, plant-based, anti-inflammatory, and life-extending. It's called oxalate. And what the clinical research now shows, in study after study focused specifically on kidney function in adults over 55, is that high dietary oxalate consumed daily, in the combinations and quantities that millions of health-conscious older adults are currently eating, is one of the most under-recognized contributors to progressive kidney damage in this country. Not because those people made bad choices. Because nobody told them the math changes as the kidney ages. Nobody told them that what a 40-year-old kidney handles without complaint is a very different thing from what a 65-year-old kidney, already operating at reduced capacity, is asked to absorb day after day, smoothie after smoothie, year after year. That gap between what the wellness industry promotes as universally healthy and what the aging kidney can actually sustain is where real, preventable damage quietly builds. So here is what we're doing today. I'm walking you through the science of what oxalate is and what it does to kidney tissue over time. I'll show you which specific foods are carrying the heaviest load into your body right now. I'll explain exactly why the kidneys of an adult over 55 respond so differently to that load. And then I'll give you a specific, practical, evidence-backed protocol you can begin implementing this week, without abandoning the healthy habits you've worked so hard to build. Your kidneys have been working for you every single day of your life, silently, without complaint. They can lose 60 or even 70% of their function before producing a single symptom loud enough to describe to a doctor. That silence is not reassurance. That silence is the trap. And today, we're going to step around it together. My name is Dr. Savannah Blaire. This channel exists for one reason: to give adults over 60 the kind of clear, honest, research-backed information your doctor genuinely wishes. There was more time to cover in a standard appointment. Not the textbook version. Not the liability-filtered version. The real version. The one that connects the dots between what the research actually shows and the decisions you are making every single day in your own home. Here is the truth. Most doctors won't say it loud in a 15-minute appointment. After 55, kidney function is already in slow, natural decline. That is not a disease. That is biology. And it means the foods your kidneys could tolerate without complaint at 40. The same ones marketed to you as superfoods, as clean eating, as the foundation of a healthy lifestyle, may be asking something very different of those kidneys now. Something they are no longer fully equipped to handle. The cruelest part? The people most at risk are not the ones who gave up on their health. They are the ones who chased it hardest. The ones with the organic grocery receipts, and the blender on the counter, and the carefully curated morning routine. Because nobody told them the math changes after 55. Nobody sat down and said, the foods that protected you in your 40s may need to be reconsidered now. Not eliminated. Reconsidered. That is what today is about. I'm walking you through the science of what oxalate actually is, why it behaves so differently in the aging kidney, which specific breakfast foods are carrying the highest load right now, and the practical steps you can take starting this week to protect yourself without abandoning the healthy habits you've worked so hard to build. 2 things I want you to hold in your mind as we go. First, there is one specific breakfast food combination researchers have flagged as carrying an oxalate load high enough, eaten daily over months and years, to contribute to measurable, progressive kidney damage. It is almost certainly sitting in your kitchen right now. Second, there is a pairing strategy so simple it takes less than 10 seconds to implement that can dramatically reduce the oxalate your kidneys ever have to deal with. Most people have never heard of it. Once you do, you won't forget it. Hold on to both. We're answering them fully before this video is over. Your kidneys contain approximately 1 million microscopic filtration units called nephrons. 1 million of them, working around the clock, every single day of your life. And here is what makes them both extraordinary and terrifying at the same time. They do not regenerate. When a nephron is damaged, when it scars over, when it stops functioning, it does not come back. Ever. Your liver can regenerate. Your skin replaces itself constantly. Even your heart muscle has limited repair capacity. But your nephrons? Once they are gone, they are gone. Your remaining nephrons simply work harder to compensate. And for a while, they do it so effectively that nothing in how you feel gives the situation away. That compensation is what makes chronic kidney disease one of the most dangerous conditions in modern medicine. Not because it is violent, because it is invisible. Starting around your 30s, kidney function begins a slow, natural decline. Roughly 1% of filtration capacity per year. At 40, you barely notice. At 50, you still feel fine. But by 65 or 70, you may be operating at 60 to 70% of the kidney function you had as a young adult. Not because anything went wrong, simply because of time. Here is the number that should stop every health-conscious person over 55 in their tracks. According to the National Kidney Foundation, approximately 37 million Americans, 1 in 7 adults, currently have chronic kidney disease, and the vast majority have no idea. Because kidney disease produces no pain, no fever, no single unmistakable symptom until it has already progressed to a stage where the options narrow dramatically. Now hold that number next to this one. The single most common type of kidney stone, accounting for roughly 80% of all cases, is made of calcium oxalate. And kidney stones are not the real story. They are the loud, painful emergency room event that finally makes the problem visible. The quieter, slower, more insidious damage is what happens before the stone ever forms. Microscopic oxalate crystals depositing in kidney tissue. Local inflammation, scarring. Tubule damage. A gradual erosion of nephron function that shows up in lab results years later as unexplained kidney decline. Here is the bold claim, clearly, directly, without hedging. After 55, eating large daily servings of certain high-oxalate foods, foods universally promoted as superfoods, foods carrying organic certification and heart-healthy labels and glowing reviews in every wellness publication, can contribute to a pattern of progressive kidney damage that most people will never connect to their breakfast. Not because those foods are poison. Not because the wellness industry is lying to you. Because the risk-to-benefit math changes as the kidney ages. And nobody, not your doctor in a 10-minute appointment, not the label on your almond butter jar, not the health influencer promoting their morning smoothie, is doing that math with your specific kidneys in mind. The system is not broken. It is simply not designed to account for the biology of the aging kidney when it hands out nutritional advice. And that gap between what is promoted as universally healthy and what is actually appropriate for a 65-year-old kidney is where real, preventable harm quietly accumulates. Today I'm walking you through 4 specific threats to your kidneys. Building toward the one I consider the most widespread and most overlooked of all. The one hiding in the breakfast most health-conscious older adults are eating right now. Stay with me through all 4. Because threat number 2 is the one that will surprise you most. And threat number 1 has been sitting in your kitchen, wearing a health halo, for years. Before we get into the 4 threats, you need one concept. Without it, nothing I'm about to say will fully land. I call it the margin of error collapse. When you are young, in your 30s, even your early 40s, your kidneys have enormous cushion. They are operating well above what your body actually needs on any given day. You could eat a high-oxalate meal, forget to drink water, take an ibuprofen for a headache, and your kidneys would process all of it, compensate quietly, and wake up the next morning ready to do it again. The cushion absorbed the hit. You never felt a thing. That cushion is not permanent. After 55, 3 things change. Remember all 3. They are the engine behind every single threat we are about to discuss. First, reduced filtration reserve. By your mid-50s to 60s, your kidneys are already filtering at meaningfully reduced capacity. Not critically reduced. Not in a way that shows up on a routine blood test as alarming, but reduced enough that the margin for error has shrunk significantly. The tank that used to be full is now, for many people, somewhere between half and two-thirds full. And that changes everything about what your kidneys can absorb without consequence. Second, slower recovery. A younger kidney that gets stressed by dehydration, by a medication, by a high dietary load, bounces back quickly. The strained nephrons recover. Function normalizes. But as we age, the kidney's ability to recover from repeated low-level insults slows considerably. The same stress that caused temporary strain at 40 causes lasting microdamage at 65. And because nephrons do not regenerate, that microdamage compounds quietly over months and years into something measurable on a lab report. Third, compounding exposures. This is the one most people never consider. No single meal caused the problem. No single pill. No single day of not drinking enough water. What the research consistently shows is that it is the accumulation. The same high-oxalate smoothie 5 mornings a week for 3 years. The Ibuprofen taken daily for a bad knee. The chronic mild dehydration that builds because the aging brain no longer sends reliable thirst signals. That tips the kidney from quietly struggling to clinically damaged. Each exposure alone might be survivable. Together over time they become something else entirely. That is the margin of error collapse. The cushion shrinks, the recovery slows. The exposures add up in ways they simply did not when you were younger. Keep that framework in your mind as we go through each threat. Because every single one of them makes complete sense once you understand that the kidney you have at 65 is not the kidney you had at 40. It is working hard for you right now. But it is operating with less room for error than it has ever had before. The difference between a diet that supports a 65-year-old kidney and one that quietly burdens it is often not dramatic. It is not the difference between eating well and eating terribly. It is smaller than that. A matter of which vegetables you rotate, how often, in what combinations, and paired with what. Those are the specific, actionable details coming next. Before we get into the 4 threats. Drop your city or country in the comments right now. I read every single one and I genuinely love knowing who is in this community with me. All right, let's get into it. Threat number 4, the pill you trust too much. Robert was 67. Retired firefighter from outside Columbus, Ohio. Broad shoulders, thick hands. The kind of man who never complained about anything. Never took a sick day in 40 years. But retirement brought something the job never had. Time to feel his knees. 40 years of heavy physical work had left Robert with chronic joint pain that doesn't announce itself dramatically. It just settles in, low and constant, like background noise you eventually stop noticing but never stop hearing. So Robert did what millions of Americans do. He reached into the medicine cabinet every morning and every evening and took 2 ibuprofen. Over the counter, no prescription needed. The label said safe for adults. The pharmacist never flagged it. His primary care doctor knew about his knee pain and had never once asked what he was taking for it. Robert was taking ibuprofen twice a day, every day, for 3 years before anyone looked at his kidney numbers. When they finally did, his GFR, his glomerular filtration rate, the primary measure of how well his kidneys are filtering, had dropped to stage 3 chronic kidney disease. Significant kidney function, lost quietly, without a single symptom that pointed clearly to his kidneys. He had been tired, yes. His ankles had been swelling slightly in the evenings. He assumed both were just getting older. Nobody connected the dots. Inside your kidneys, tiny blood vessels are kept open and healthy by signaling molecules called prostaglandins, the traffic controllers of your kidney's internal circulation, keeping blood flowing steadily through the nephrons, keeping filtration oxygenated and functional. NSAIDs, ibuprofen, naproxen, work by blocking prostaglandins throughout the body. That is precisely how they reduce pain. The problem is they block prostaglandins in the kidneys too. Those tiny vessels constrict, blood flow drops. The nephrons begin running on reduced oxygen, like a city experiencing a rolling blackout. 1 pill after a hard day and your kidneys recover. Take them daily for months or years and those blackouts accumulate. Scar tissue forms. Nephrons once destroyed do not regenerate. The people most at risk, older adults with even mildly reduced kidney function. Anyone managing high blood pressure or diabetes, anyone on blood pressure medications. Certain combinations amplify the damage dramatically. What to do? Talk to your doctor before taking these medications regularly. Ask specifically about your GFR. Know your baseline before you continue. Explore alternatives for chronic pain. Physical therapy. Targeted exercise, heat and cold therapy manage a great deal of joint pain without touching the kidneys. In some cases, acetaminophen taken correctly is a gentler option. And never let pain management become a silent kidney management problem. Solving one problem by quietly creating another is not a solution. Threat number 3. The dehydration you don't feel's one surprises people every time. Because it sounds too simple to be serious. Carol was 73. Retired school teacher from Scottsdale, Arizona. Meticulous about her health, medications on schedule, 30-minute morning walk, weight stable, balanced diet. Her daughter described her as the most disciplined person she had ever known. Carol was also, without knowing it, chronically dehydrated. Not dramatically, not acutely dangerous, but persistently, quietly, insufficiently hydrated, day after day for years, in a way her body had almost entirely stopped signaling. That last part is the key. As we age, one of the most significant but least discussed changes in the body is this. The thirst mechanism becomes unreliable. In younger people, when the body needs water, the brain sends a clear, unmistakable signal. You feel thirsty. You drink. Balance restored. By your 60s and 70s, that signal gets quieter. Delayed. Sometimes it doesn't arrive at all until you are already significantly behind on fluids. Studies show older adults can reach fluid deficits of 2% or more of body weight without experiencing any meaningful sensation of thirst. Your body can be genuinely running low on water and simply not tell you the way it used to. For the kidneys, this is not a minor inconvenience. It is a slow, persistent emergency. Your kidneys require a constant, steady flow of fluid to do their job. When you are even mildly, chronically dehydrated, that flow slows to a trickle. Waste product concentration rises. The kidneys work harder to filter less fluid. Urine becomes more concentrated, dramatically raising the risk of kidney stones, the most common and painful acute kidney event in older adults. But it goes deeper than stones. Chronic mild dehydration keeps the kidneys under persistent low-level stress. Over years, that stress contributes to a gradual erosion of kidney function that shows up in lab results with no single identifiable cause. Just time, and too many days of not enough water. What to do? Stop waiting to feel thirsty. That signal is no longer reliable. Build hydration into your daily routine the same way you take your medications, by the clock, not by sensation. A glass of water first thing in the morning before coffee. A glass with every meal. One mid-morning, one mid-afternoon. Check your urine. Pale straw yellow. If it is consistently darker than that, your kidneys are telling you something important. And it costs nothing to listen. Coffee, tea, sugary drinks, and alcohol are not substitutes for water. Some actively pull fluid out of the body. When we talk about kidney protective hydration, we mean water. Plain, consistent, non-negotiable water. This one is free, available to you right now. And it may be the simplest thing you do today to begin protecting your kidneys. If you are still with me and finding this helpful, type with the number 3 in the comments. It lets me know you are here and that this is landing the way I intend it to. Threat number 2. The protein trap here is where it gets genuinely interesting and genuinely confusing. Because this threat is wrapped in something that sounds not just harmless, but actively virtuous. Dennis was 69. Retired engineer from outside Portland, Oregon. Sharp, disciplined. He approached his retirement health the same way he approached every engineering problem, with research, systems, and a plan. Dennis had read extensively about sarcopenia, the age-related muscle loss that accelerates after 60, and that left unchecked is one of the biggest predictors of physical decline and loss of independence in older adults. He had read that protein was the answer. He bought a premium protein powder, drank 2 shakes a day on top of his regular meals, and was hitting targets north of 180 grams of protein daily. He was proud of the plan. His arms looked better than they had in years. His kidney function had declined by nearly 25% in 18 months. When your body breaks down protein, it produces nitrogen-containing waste products. The primary one is urea. Your kidneys are responsible for filtering urea out of the blood and excreting it through urine. More protein means more urea, which means more filtration work demanded of the kidneys. In a young person with fully functioning kidneys, manageable. The filtration system has enough reserve capacity to handle the extra load without lasting consequence. But in an older adult whose kidneys are already operating at reduced capacity, remember the margin of error collapse. Flooding the system with excessive protein is like asking an already overworked filtration plant to process double the volume with half the staff. Something eventually gives. The research is clear enough that even conservative medical guidelines recommend people with chronic kidney disease significantly reduce protein intake. And the protein powder market, now booming in popularity among older adults, is where I consistently see people unknowingly creating serious strain. Here is the nuance that matters. This does not mean avoid protein. Protein is essential for older adults, full stop. The muscle loss that comes with age is real, and the consequences of sarcopenia are severe. What it means is that the type and the total daily amount both matter enormously. Plant-based proteins, lentils, beans, tofu, are generally processed more gently by the kidneys than large daily servings of red meat or concentrated protein powders. And the total daily target is almost certainly lower than what the fitness industry is telling you. Nobody needs 180 or 200 grams of protein a day. Work with your doctor to find what is appropriate for your specific body weight and current kidney function. Get tested. Know your numbers. And if you love your protein shake, make sure it is not the only conversation you are having about your kidneys. Threat number 1. The hidden kitchen killer. We have talked about painkillers, dehydration, and protein excess. All real, all serious, all worth your attention. But now, the one I consider the most widespread, most overlooked, and most maddening of all 4. Because here is what makes this one different from everything else we have covered today. The other 3 threats wear their risk somewhat openly. Pain medications carry warnings. Dehydration has a logic most people can follow. Protein excess is at least a conversation happening in medical circles. This one is hiding behind a health halo so bright that the people most at risk are the exact people who will find it hardest to believe. Dietary oxalate, and specifically, the oxalate load coming from certain foods that millions of health-conscious older adults are eating every single day. In their smoothies, in their salads, in their carefully prepared breakfasts, genuinely believing they are doing their bodies a profound favor. Patricia was 66, retired pharmacist from outside Denver, Colorado. Let me say that again, retired pharmacist. Someone who had spent her entire career understanding medications, reading labels, thinking carefully about what goes into the body. If anyone should have been protected by knowledge, it was Patricia. Every morning without exception, she made what she called her longevity smoothie. 2 large handfuls of raw spinach, a cup of almond milk, a tablespoon of almond butter, half a beet juiced, a square of dark chocolate blended in for the antioxidants, sometimes a tablespoon of cocoa powder on top. Every ingredient chosen deliberately. Every ingredient from a reputable health publication. Every ingredient labeled natural, organic, or antioxidant-rich. Patricia came in for a routine blood panel. Her GFR had dropped 15 points in 3 years. Her urine showed elevated oxalate levels. She had passed 2 kidney stones in the past 18 months, both attributed to not drinking enough water. When I looked at her morning smoothie, I understood immediately what was happening. Oxalates are naturally occurring compounds found in plants, a kind of chemical defense mechanism. Your body also produces small amounts as a byproduct of normal metabolism. Under normal circumstances, most dietary oxalate binds to calcium in the gut, gets escorted out through your stool, and never causes a problem. But when oxalate absorption is too high, due to diet, gut microbiome disruption, or reduced kidney clearance in aging, it gets absorbed into the bloodstream. And then your kidneys have to deal with it. Oxalate in the blood gets filtered into the urine. Inside the kidney's filtration system, oxalate binds to calcium. When they combine in high enough concentrations, they crystallize. Calcium oxalate kidney stones, the most common type by far, accounting for roughly 80% of all cases. But the stone is not the whole story. The stone is just the acute, painful event that gets you to the emergency room. The deeper, quieter damage comes from what happens before the stone ever forms. Microscopic oxalate crystals depositing in kidney tissue itself, local inflammation, scarring, tubule damage, oxalate encephalopathy, a pattern of progressive kidney damage that looks in lab, results like unexplained, slow kidney decline. And the foods highest in oxalate, they are the ones constantly promoted as superfoods. Spinach, the single highest oxalate food most people eat regularly. 1 cup of cooked spinach contains more oxalate than many people should consume in an entire day. Raw spinach, which most smoothie recipes call for, delivers that load even more rapidly. Almonds and all almond products, almond milk, almond flour, almond butter. Pantry staples in the health-conscious household. Exceptionally high in oxalate. Beets, raw, roasted, juiced, beloved by the wellness community. Extremely high in oxalate. Dark chocolate and cocoa powders. Swiss chard, sweet potatoes. Certain varieties of instant oatmeal. Patricia's morning longevity smoothie contained spinach, almond milk, almond butter, beet juice, and dark chocolate. 5 of the highest oxalate foods available, blended together. Consumed every single morning for 4 years. She was not being reckless, she was being diligent. And no one told her that for a 66-year-old kidney, already operating with reduced reserve capacity. That specific daily ritual she was so proud of was accumulating a burden her kidneys were quietly struggling to carry. Type the number 1 in the comments if this stopped you in tracks. Because what comes next is the part that actually changes things. I promised you something you could actually use. Not information that makes you worried and sends you to bed anxious. A real, specific, portable protocol you can begin implementing this week. Starting with your very next grocery run, your very next meal, your very next morning routine. 5 steps. Each one targeting a different layer of what we covered today. Each one grounded in clinical research. Each one designed specifically for the biology of an adult over 55. Not generic advice written for a 35-year-old with kidneys running at full capacity. Write these down. Step 1: rotate, don't eliminate. This is the single most important shift you can make with high-oxalate foods. And it costs nothing. The problem with Patricia's smoothie was never spinach. Spinach is a nutritionally extraordinary vegetable. The problem was spinach every single morning, 7 days a week, for 4 years. Daily repetition of the same high-oxalate food is what allows oxalate to accumulate faster than the kidneys can clear it. The solution is rotation. Eat spinach twice a week, not 7 times. On the other days, rotate to significantly lower oxalate greens, kale in moderate amounts, arugula, romaine, cabbage, bok choy, butter lettuce. Comparable nutritional value, comparable fiber, comparable micronutrients. Without the same oxalate burden, you are not giving up your greens. You are diversifying them in a way your kidneys will respond to over time. The same principle applies to almonds and almond products. If almond milk is your daily smoothie base, rotate it with oat milk, regular dairy milk, or coconut milk on alternating days. If almond butter is your go-to, rotate with sunflower seed butter or peanut butter, both significantly lower in oxalate. Small rotations, real cumulative impact. Step 2. Pair high-oxalate foods with calcium. This is the strategy almost nobody talks about. And in my opinion, one of the most clinically important dietary insights for kidney health in older adults. Here is the biology. When you consume calcium alongside high-oxalate food at the same meal, the calcium binds to the oxalate in your gut before it ever gets absorbed into your bloodstream. The two molecules lock together, form an insoluble compound, and leave your body through your stool. They never reach your kidneys. They never enter your urine. They never have the opportunity to crystallize. This is why the old advice, told to kidney stone patients for decades, to avoid dairy if you have stones, was not just unhelpful. It was backwards. Calcium consumed with meals is protective. It intercepts the oxalate before the kidneys ever have to deal with it. In practical terms, eat your spinach salad with some cheese. Pair your dark chocolate with a small serving of plain yogurt. Make your smoothie with dairy milk, or a calcium-fortified alternative, rather than plain almond milk. Have a glass of milk alongside your oatmeal rather than after it. Timing matters. The calcium needs to be present in the gut at the same time as the oxalate. Drinking milk 2 hours after your high-oxalate smoothie does not accomplish the same thing as including it in the smoothie itself. Same meal, same time. That is when the binding happens. That is when it protects you. This one strategy alone, implemented consistently, can dramatically reduce the oxalatant load your kidneys are asked to process every single day. Step 3. Hydrate aggressively and strategically. Water dilutes the concentration of oxalate in your urine. The more dilute your urine, the lower the concentration of oxalate and calcium floating in close proximity, and the less likely they are to reach the crystallization threshold where stone formation and tissue damage begin. Think of it this way. Dissolve a teaspoon of salt in a small glass of water, intensely salty. Dissolve the same teaspoon in a large pitcher. You barely taste it. Same principle applies to oxalate in your urine. Dilution is protection. The practical target: urine that is consistently pale straw yellow throughout the day. Not clear. Not dark yellow, amber, or orange. Pale straw yellow is the window you are aiming for. A glass of water first thing in the morning, before anything else, before coffee, before your smoothie, before your supplements. This one habit alone rehydrates blood that has thickened overnight and gives your kidneys a running start before they begin processing the day's dietary load. And if you are going to have a high oxalate meal or smoothie, have a full glass of water with it and another within the hour after. You are giving your kidneys the fluid and volume they need to dilute and excrete what is coming. Step 4. Reconsider your supplementation. This one catches people completely off guard. Vitamin C. Many older adults take high-dose vitamin C supplements, 1,000 milligrams, 2,000 milligrams, sometimes more, under the impression that more is better, that extra vitamin C is harmless because it is water-soluble and the body simply excretes what it doesn't use. Here is what that assumption misses. Vitamin C, ascorbic acid, is metabolized in part into oxalate. At doses above 1,000 milligrams per day, that conversion becomes clinically significant. Research has shown that high-dose vitamin C supplementation can meaningfully elevate urinary oxalate levels, adding directly to the dietary oxalate load your kidneys are already managing. If you are currently taking more than 500 milligrams of vitamin C daily, have a direct conversation with your doctor about your kidney function before continuing. Not a reason to panic. A reason to have one specific targeted conversation that takes less than 5 minutes and could matter considerably over the long term. Similarly, if you are taking protein powders daily, even high-quality ones, bring that to your doctor's attention alongside a request for a kidney function panel. Know what your kidneys are currently handling before adding more to their workload. Step 5. Get your kidney function tested. This month, everything else in this protocol is more powerful when you know your baseline. If you are over 55 and you do not currently know your GFR, your glomerular filtration rate, and your urine albumin level, that is your assignment. Not next year. Not at your next annual physical, whenever that happens to be. This month. These are routine tests. A standard blood draw for GFR, a urine sample for albumin, typically covered by insurance. They take minutes to collect. And what they give you is something no supplement, no superfood, and no wellness routine can replace. The truth about where your kidneys actually are right now. Not where you assume they are. Not where you hope they are. Where they actually are. A GFR in a healthy range with low urine albumin tells you your kidneys are handling the current load well. Your job is to keep it that way. A GFR that has dropped quietly from where it was 2 or 3 years ago tells you something important is happening that deserves your attention now, while you still have time to meaningfully change the trajectory. Use this exact phrase at your next appointment if it helps. I'd like a routine kidney function panel, GFR and urine albumin. I want to establish a baseline. Any physician will respond to that without hesitation. And what you learn will be worth far more than anything you will ever read on a supplement label. That is the kidney defense protocol. Rotate your high-oxalate foods rather than eating them daily. Pair them with calcium at the same meal. Hydrate aggressively and strategically. Audit your supplementation, particularly high-dose vitamin C. And get your kidney function tested this month, so you are working from truth rather than assumption. None of these are dramatic. None require you to overhaul your life or abandon the healthy habits you have worked hard to build. But applied consistently, over weeks and months and years, they are exactly the kind of changes that compound into something extraordinary. A body that stays functional, independent, and full of life well into its 70s and 80s. That is what we are building here. One informed decision at a time. There is a profound difference between healthcare that finds things and healthcare that helps you live well. Those two things sound like they should be the same. They are not always the same. The medical system is extraordinarily good at detection, at intervention, at responding to crisis. If you are having a heart attack, there is no better place on earth to be than a modern hospital. If something goes acutely, dramatically wrong, the system mobilizes with speed and precision that is genuinely remarkable. But detection is not the same as prevention. And intervention is not the same as protection. What we covered today, the slow accumulation of oxalate in kidney tissue, the quiet erosion of nephron function from daily ibuprofen, the invisible dehydration that a blunted thirst mechanism never announces, the protein load an aging filtration system carries in silence. None of these things trigger the detection machinery. None of them send you to the emergency room with a clear diagnosis and a treatment plan. They build slowly, in the background, beneath the threshold of what a standard 10-minute appointment is designed to catch. And by the time the machinery finally detects them, the damage has often been accumulating for years. This is not a failure of medicine. It is a gap between what the system was designed to do and what a 65-year-old body actually needs. The system was built around acute care, finding things, fixing things, responding to emergencies. What aging bodies need most is something quieter, slower, and more continuous than that. Informed daily decisions, consistent small protections. The kind of accumulated wisdom that compounds over months and years into genuine resilience. That is preventive medicine. And that is what this channel is about. I want to say something directly to you now. The fact that you are here, that you watched this far, that you took the time to understand the mechanism behind oxalate nephropathy, and the margin of error collapse and the way calcium intercepts oxalate in the gut, that is not a small thing. Most people will not do this. Most people will continue making their morning smoothie with 5 high-oxalate ingredients, Because nobody told them not to. Because the label said organic. Because the wellness industry said superfood. Because the human tendency is to assume that what has always been fine continues to be fine. You are not most people. You are someone who chose to understand. And that choice, that single decision to spend 20 minutes learning something true about your own body, compounds. It changes how you shop. It changes what you pair together at breakfast. It changes the question you ask at your next doctor's appointment. It changes the trajectory, quietly and permanently, in a direction that shows up as in lab results months from now, as something your doctor will call encouraging. Your kidneys have been working for you every single day of your life. Every second you spent watching this video, they were filtering, balancing, adjusting, protecting. 60, 70, maybe 80 years, without ever asking for a single thing in return. What they need from you now is not perfection. They do not need a flawless diet or elimination of every food on the high-oxalate list, or a vow to never take an ibuprofen again. Perfection is not the goal, it never was. What they need is awareness, attention, the basic understanding of what helps them and what quietly burdens them. So that the choices you are informed ones rather than accidental ones. Because the threats we talked about today, the trusted pill taken too often, the dehydration your body stopped announcing, the protein load, the oxalate hiding behind a health halo, none of them are inevitable. None of them are beyond your ability to address. You can rotate your vegetables. You can pair your foods more wisely. You can drink a glass of water before your coffee in the morning. You can ask your doctor for a simple blood test this month. These are not heroic acts. They are small, consistent, informed decisions, the kind that accumulate over months and years into something that matters profoundly. A body that stays independent, a mind that stays sharp, a life that continues to look the way you want it to look. Not because nothing went wrong, but because you paid attention early enough that wrong never had the chance to become irreversible. You have the right to know what is happening inside your body. You have the right to understand the foods you're eating and what they are asking of your organs. You have the right to walk into your doctor's office with specific informed questions and expect real, direct answers. You are not a passive recipient of whatever your health happens to become. You are someone who showed up today, paid attention, and left with a framework. Use it. If this video connected a dot that nobody in a doctor's office has ever connected for you, hit subscribe. Every week. Practical, evidence-based, honest conversations about the specific health challenges that matter most to adults over 55. Not generic advice recycled from a textbook. Not fear dressed up as information. The real picture, clearly explained, so you can make decisions that actually reflect what the research shows. And next week, something that genuinely stopped me when I first reviewed the data. A specific combination of two extremely common morning habits that may be quietly working against your blood pressure in ways that standard checkups almost never catch. You will want to be here for that one. Hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Before you go, I want to hear from you. Had you ever heard of oxalate and its connection to kidney health before today? Did any of the foods we mentioned stop you cold? Spinach, almonds, dark chocolate. And more importantly, which of the 5 steps from the kidney defense protocol are you implementing first? The food rotation, the calcium pairing, the hydration habit, the supplement audit, or the kidney function test? Tell me in the comments, because your answer does 2 things. It helps me understand what is landing and what this community needs more of. Every comment shapes what we cover next, and I read every single one. And your answer might be exactly what someone else watching this video needs to see. Someone sitting on the fence about whether to call their doctor this week. Someone who has been making the same spinach smoothie every morning for 3 years, and just watched this video alone in their kitchen, turning the information over in their mind, not quite sure what to do with it yet. Your comment might be the thing that moves them from thinking about it to actually doing it. That is not a small thing. That is the kind of ripple that preventive medicine runs on. If this video opened your eyes to something important, share it. Send it to a spouse, a sibling, a friend who has been proudly making their daily green smoothie and has never once questioned what it might be asking of their kidneys. Send it to someone you care about who is over 55 and whose kidney function numbers you have no idea about, because neither do they. I am Dr. Savannah Blaire. Your kidneys have been taking care of you your entire life. Now you know how to take care of them. Take good care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next one.